Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Drive Marketing. And tonight, Corey and I have the pleasure to sit down and visit with a past friend of ours, longtime friend of both of ours, BJ Ike from Ohio. BJ, good to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Hey, learnlivestockphotography.com is your baby here, but just real quick, kind of dive in and let us know a little bit about BJ and what you have going on in Ohio right now.
For sure. So, when I got out of college at Oklahoma State, I worked for the Maine Anjou Association, and that's how I met both of these guys, is when I worked for the Maines. And that feels like many moons ago at this point in time, but having that job got me really interested in livestock marketing, and I enjoyed working sales and being involved with the marketing side of the business. And I moved back home and started doing a lot of different work, working on catalogs, setting up sales, sorting cattle, and doing a variety of things to just be around this business more. And taking pictures was one of those things. And I was fortunate enough that that part of my business took off. And then I spent 7 years on the road full time taking cattle pictures. That was actually my wife and I's only income for most of that 7 years was the cattle photography business. So I really had a great opportunity to work with great operations all over the United States. Um, and and I did that full time for 7 years. And then my wife and I started a video production company. So we
Mhm.
stayed working with cameras, but today we do advertising and marketing for businesses in agriculture, um, feed companies, bull studs, um, of just a variety of different businesses that we work with today. And those two things kind of came together. A lot of people I had taught some in-person workshops. I had done a lot of photography teaching and enjoyed it. And now I have this video production company, so I blended the two together, and we filmed a a course that teaches people how to take cattle and other livestock photos. So that's where Learn Livestock Photography was born.
Good deal. No, there is no doubt some of your earlier work. You talked about being on the road for 7 years, and you talked about being within some of the elite sales. You were involved in those early production stuff of those sales, whether it be pictures or videos or helping with sale catalogs. But you were coast to coast, and some of the most elite sales I can remember. The back, Corey, you remember the old Green Valley days and Dr. Mims, and pretty much you kind of tied yourself with was it Craig Ryder,
That's
and
right.
you were the go-to guy for all of Ryder's sales. And I mean, there's no doubt that guy, he can put on some of the most elite production sales in the business. So traveling those 7 years, did that help you form some of Learn Livestock Photography today, the setups you were in, the things you didn't see or wish you had? Tell us about those 7 years.
I think that the biggest thing to know about those 7 years was at the end of it, I spent 3 years over 200 nights a year away from home.
Wow.
And so that is why I'm not a full-time livestock photographer anymore. That's the biggest reason why. And uh, but over the course of that time, you don't start out taking pictures for the best operations, right? You start out in your neighborhood and working with whoever you can that'll give you a shot to take some pictures. And it did really help formulate my opinion about what photography should be, what our job is as photographers. Is our job to make every animal look like an elite animal, or is our job to document the animals as they are? I think that's an interesting conversation in the course of livestock photography. and getting on some of those really elite operations that had a lot of extremely good cattle. Going from the Midwest, where cattle operations are smaller and they're just aren't the volume of genetics to have so many elite ones as there are when you get out west. That changed my perspective immensely when I got to work on some of those better operations. But also what I learned being we run cattle around here in small pastures and lots of barn lots and so forth, for the most part. Getting to go out west where cattle are handled differently, managed differently, fed different, everything's different. And so then you get the opportunity to experience how to handle those cattle, how to pose those cattle, how to set up pens and handling facilities for those cattle. All those things make a huge difference in how your pictures look. And so I think the traveling and the time to get to go to all different kinds of operations that have all different kinds of management styles, all different shapes and colors and sizes of cattle to look at. I mean, uh, all those things influence how you form your craft and view your role as a photographer.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I can't imagine. I've never gone on the road like you did, but the different scenarios that you run into in terms of real small picture pins or real big picture pins, and I bet you it's a lot about just training those guys, the operators, into we're getting a scenario that works for you as a photographer.
I think that's true. And one of the interesting things is when you're young and starting out, maybe people don't trust you as much when you say, this is what I want. And so usually it's year two, it's your second year going back to a place before you can get them to make some changes to that pen setup. That pen setup is everything to me. And especially, we picture the majority of cattle loose, right? And so, how they're going to handle it and how your day is going to go is completely predicated upon how those animals are handled getting to the pen and how your pen is set up for those animals to flow through it. That's something we talk about inside of our course a lot, because I think it makes an enormous difference to the quality of the images and also your ability to work through them and get the job done without everybody going crazy.
Yeah.
You see some wrecks too, which is part of it, and learning how to avoid those.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you do. Yeah.
So, as we dive in and go to talking about, what you're doing here at Learn Livestock, I think today, we talk about modern livestock and we talk about the way that maybe the sale business has evolved and changed over the last 10 years. I would say in the last 5 years, it's even changed even more. We talk about that the buyer's expectations today of a photo or of a video. In your opinion, the role of that in the buying process, where do you see that?
Well, I think that as sellers or as producers, we have to recognize that buyers do have a process, and I think it's pretty predictable. I think that the buying process is, number one, predicated upon good photos. I think good photos are still the driver, right? When we scroll our phones, what makes us stop? A really sweet one, right? Before I got on here, I scrolled my phone and I saw a new bull that I hadn't seen before, and he looked incredible, right? And that stopped me. Well, now I've stopped the scroll. You've got my attention, but you had to do it with a photo. That's still how. That's still, in my opinion, how livestock, how we generate attention in livestock marketing today, is the photos of very good animals. Um, or very good photos of very good animals, I should say. Then what's really changed to me are over the course of my career is, it used to be when we showed up at a place, they might be selling 100 head, but we were only going to picture 20 of them for the catalog. And those 20 needed to represent the entire set of animals that were for sale. Well, in a few years of my career, that changed almost entirely, where by the time I quit, not only were we picturing every animal in the catalog, or as many as we could, we also were videoing a lot of them at most places that we went. And today the expectation that buyers have is that you're going to give me a photo, and you're also going to give me a video to look at. If you don't
Right.
check those two boxes, it's going to be pretty hard to get a phone call from anybody to see if they're interested. In my opinion, I think they expect that, and that they're going to go through that process of seeing a photo. Okay, now I'm going to watch its video. Okay, now everything's checked out so far. Do I really like this pedigree? Do I really like what I can learn in the footnotes and the data for this animal? Okay, now I'm interested enough to call somebody and get an opinion or take a closer look.
Yeah. And that picture has to be, you know, it's got to be, the animal's got to be high quality to take a great picture, obviously. But I mean, the lighting and the way it's set up has got to be right to where it catches in people's eye. And that picture opens the door to the video. And then your video's got to be just as high quality in terms of lighting and the job that's done that way to seal the deal, because that's in a lot of cases, to me, that seals the deal. If you got a high quality video and the buyer likes that, that's what's going to get the bid. You know.
Yeah, now they're coming. Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. I think that those what you mentioned about some of those details, the light, how the light hits the side of the animal, where you place the animal in the pen relative to the sun, where you place the animal in the pen relative to what's behind it, the fence or whatever.
Yep.
Those little detailed things make an incredible difference in how that animal looks in its picture. And it's almost impossible to believe because it's the same animal. But if you change a few things about a photograph, you change how you perceive that animal entirely.
Right.
And I think also as producers, we have to recognize, relative to this whole buying process conversation, that your pictures tell a story about you and your operation more than just the quality of the animal in your picture, right? It's how do we run these cattle? Do we run them skinny or do we run them fat? That tells me something about who you are as an operator, right? Do we run the cattle in super fit and highly presented, really fluffy, or do we run the cattle in and we just pull them out of a feedlot pen, right? They're dirty. Neither one of those things are right or wrong, right?
Yeah.
As a producer, we get to decide how are we going to run our cattle. What kind of customer does that attract? Is that the customer we need? But we have to recognize that when we take pictures, you know, those bulls with the dingleberries on them, there's a whole subset of cattle producers that aren't looking at them. And if you recognize that's not your customer, then you're fine. So it's not a right or wrong decision. But I can also tell you that when you bring those bulls in and you clean them up and you blow them out and everything looks right and you get great pictures of them, they can bring a lot more money too. So how we present our animals tells a story about us. What's the background of our pictures look like? How are we running our cattle? What do they look like? How much effort did we put into getting that picture? All those things are telling buyers and signaling to them things that they're doing automatically because our brains perceive images and know what to think about them in microseconds. And that makes a difference to eventually what those cattle are worth.
Right.
And that brings us to our next point there, BJ. You know, how those photos drive those sale prices and affects people's bottom line, and knowing, I think you said it best, knowing your market. Like if you're in a commercial bull sale market, it's not as important to get their head up like a show heifer and try to make them look freakier looking. You're trying to make that soft made, commercial bull look to them, and knowing the buyers that you're going after when you're taking the pictures.
Yeah, I think it makes a difference, and you know, you do have to weigh that presentation conversation is one that's always interesting in the bull sale time of year, because you have to weigh it costs expense to run those cattle through the chute and get them ready. You got to weigh that versus what you think you can add value. A good photographer can make you a lot of money, because even commercial buyers, they still want to go and say, "Hey, look at the bull I loaded up today," and just show the picture.
Yeah, there's no doubt people are still, and I don't care if you're in western Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, those guys still, when they go to the coffee shop, whether they bought that next herd bull or they went and bought their kid the next elite show heifer, they're proud of that picture no matter what. Which brings me to my question for you now. With the process of online sales and social media marketing and Snapchat, Facebook, TikToks, everybody in the country's got show heifers, bulls, commercial bulls for sale. At the end of the day, there's only so many people that can travel the country and be at one place to take a picture that day, when in reality, you pictured 70 of them and had a great day. But there's 75 people calling you that's got 25 or 30 to do that needed them pictured yesterday. Brings us to learn livestock photography idea of yours. And there's no doubt you're as credible as anybody in terms of taking high quality pictures that document the animal, and they are what they are. But let's get into this. Not everybody has that ability to take a picture. I know Corey takes some pictures, and there at the bull stud, I take some every now and then just because I have to. But absolutely nothing to your level. This course is for the guys like myself and Corey. But let's get into that. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect at Learn Livestock Photography.
Well, I think that a couple of things I want to hit on. Number one is what you said is right. There's an enormous amount of demand for photography, whether you're somebody who's interested in taking ring shots or taking sale photos or taking pig photos or goats or sheep or cattle. Doesn't really matter what you're interested in. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, tons of work that needs to be done as photographers. So there's a great opportunity, whether it's something that you want to get better at to improve the value of your own livestock that you're raising and you're taking pictures of, or whether somebody on your place is interested in photography and wants to start a sideline. There's so much opportunity for work out there. I think it's a great side hustle. As far as what to expect inside of the courses, I think that it was important to me to start at zero, right? We want to come in here and be able to come in with no camera knowledge or a lot of camera knowledge and learn. And so we start with learning your camera, what I call walking through the modes. You learn the whole process of how to operate your camera, whether you have Canon, Nikon, Sony, DSLR, mirrorless, doesn't matter what kind of camera you have. We can show you how to operate it and control it and do a better job principally. And then we go through all the different ways all the different processes that you need to go through and know to handle the livestock and get the pictures. And we go through the editing process and post-production, which is a big part of the workload. It takes a lot of time to do that work. I can share the website here and show you all what it looks like. Of course, it's not giving me quite this option right now, so let me try this. But let's see. Let's try this. So on our website, learnlivestockphotography.com, you can see everything that is involved in the course. So we've got this 4 steps to mastering manual mode is the first module, setting up the perfect picture pen, then take command of the picture pen, how you actually handle the livestock, editing in Lightroom, and then several modules on editing in Photoshop. And we also include right now what I call the secret Photoshop tool the pros won't share. It shows you, if you've ever seen one of those pictures that maybe you're like, I don't know if I believe that one. I show you how it's made. And I also show you how you can use those tools in kind of a ethical way, how they can be used maybe unethically. We have a big conversation about that and about the photographer's role in the process of photography. Let me go here and log in and go to my library, and I'll show you this is just how the course looks. It's all video based. And so you go here, and yours, when you log in, will say start course. I've already watched some videos, so mine says resume. You click that, it takes you right to where you left off. And then you just watch video lessons. Some of them are shot in a classroom setting. Some of them are shot outside with cattle, where you can actually see some demonstrations. For people who are interested in other species, we've also added videos about setting up indoor lighting. We've added videos about taking sheep pictures, I know. We also have a really cool Facebook group with about 200 people in it who are livestock photographers from all around the world. And we ask questions in there, we do photo critiques in there, and it is really a great place to learn. So the course is really easy to navigate. If you can watch Netflix, you can navigate this course. It's super simple.
Now, Brett said, him and I, we've taken some pictures. I used to take really most of my pictures there at Bushy Park over the years. And honestly, BJ, I'm not going to lie, it was a lot of luck and a lot of numbers of pictures, not the quality of pictures. I have no idea. I told Brett earlier, I have no idea what a lot of those, the flower and the mountains and Roulette on top of the camera do. I feel like most of the time I do it, I just turn it as fast as I can, and wherever it lands, we just hope for the best.
Photography roulette.
Yeah, it really is. I have no idea what to do. And I have no idea. I guess there is one for M. I assume that stands for manual now after tonight's video.
It does.
But I guess that course goes into when you want to use that manual setting, when you want to use, is that what you always use? Or, I mean, it goes into that and tells you, I know there's some days that are so dreary and there's a way to let the light in, and all that is dealt with in this course.
I think that, yes, what we're doing as photographers, whether we really know what we're doing or not, is capturing light. That's our job. And a camera is a tool that captures light. And your settings obviously affect how the camera reads the light. And so by changing our settings, then the camera knows how to process what it's seeing. And so where we all start is on automatic mode, or one of those priority modes like you talked about, that where you can pick the portrait mode or landscape mode, so on and so forth. Those all have value, and you can learn by going through that. I teach the process of walking through the modes by each mode controls a different setting. There's three primary settings. You have your aperture, which is the opening of the lens, the shutter speed, which is how fast the shutters or how long the shutter is open. And then you have your ISO, which is the sensitivity of your sensor to the light. And so you need to learn those three factors independently, and then you can put them all together. And so I start people in automatic mode, and you learn how to see the light around you. You learn how to frame your shot, how to use your lens, how to get that to kind of just get comfortable with the process. And I think that automatic modes are a great place for people to start, especially producers. You have a lot to do. It's going to take time to learn this camera. We can get great pictures in automatic mode. We just have to know how to do it, right? So we teach that. Then we walk through those other modes. And by the time you're done with that module, the first module, of course, you're going to know how to do manual controls. And when you know how to do manual controls, then, hey, it's sun 1 minute, clouds the next. You know exactly what button to touch to make that change and get that picture exposed correctly.
And touch on BJ, what kind of a camera do you need to take photography, or what kind of cameras in general does your course deals with?
The number one question I get asked is, what kind of gear do I need, or is my camera good enough, or do I have the right camera, or what camera should I buy next? What lens should I buy next? People, when they approach photography, the gear is important and it does make a difference. I think to take the course, we need either a DSLR or mirrorless camera with interchangeable lenses, and most people have one. Really, most producers have one sitting in a tack room or an office somewhere collecting dust because they were going to take pictures, but then they never learned how to use the camera. So most people have a camera already. So I tell people to start with the camera you have. We don't need to go out and buy more or fancy equipment in order to learn the things we need to know to get good pictures. So start where you're at with either a DSLR or mirrorless. That'll get you into our course where now you're going to learn the principles of photography, and from there you'll know. It gets talked about a lot in our Facebook group. It gets talked about a lot inside the course. You'll know when you need to upgrade because you'll have maxed out your skills on the camera, and you'll know when you. A lot of people come to me, and the first question is, what camera should I buy, or what camera do I need? I have this one. I want to buy this fancier one, more expensive one. 9 times out of 10, the answer is, if you can't tell me why you need the new camera, then you don't need the new camera, right? You need to be experienced enough as a photographer to know what the limitations are of the equipment that you already have and why that's not good enough before you go out and spend it, because they're expensive. I mean, it's thousands of dollars to get some of that high-end equipment. But equipment gets talked about a lot.
Right. So BJ, this course, Learn Livestock Photography, is this a at your own pace type schedule? Is this maybe 3-part question here? Number one, the course schedule, is it an at your own pace? That part 2 is if it is an at your own pace thing, you said go back and resume. How is your involvement to walk a dummy like myself through the course that's going to have the inevitable, you can't answer everybody's question? And the last part is, the 3 is for somebody like me that's going to ask that unbeknownst question. How do we get, where do you come in to the mix there?
Yep, for sure. So I offer the course. It's open for enrollment twice a year. So we sell it twice a year, February and August. And the reason I do that is because when people get in, we want to take care of them. We want to get everybody started off to the right foot. The volume of questions is bigger when people first get started. And so I just need to set time aside on my calendar to focus on this. So we sell it in February. And then in early March, there'll be quite a few questions, and I try to make time in my schedule right there to take care as people are getting kicked off. Now, once you buy the course, you own it for life. You can come back anytime, watch it on any device, anytime, anywhere. You can log in tomorrow. You can wait and you can watch it 6 months from now. You can take part of it now, part of it later. However you want to do it, it's yours. You own it, and it'll be there for you to watch. The question part, in each lesson as you go through, there is a comment section. If you put a comment in there, I get a notification right away, and if all those notifications in the course I handle within 24 hours. And so then what happens is people, inevitably, sale time's coming. We need pictures. We've been working at it, but now we're taking a lot of pictures, so we're starting to have questions. Two things. One, our Facebook group has been really good for this. But two, I mean, access to me is wide open if you're a course member. And I this spring spent, or last fall, I guess it was, one guy in particular is a real nice guy from Oklahoma, and they were getting ready for their sale, and he just had a lot to work through really fast. And I bet I spent a lot of time with him working through some of the challenges that he was having, getting his workflow going and stuff. And now he's up and running, and his questions will be minimal. So I think that if you buy the course, I'm here to help. And we've got 300 students enrolled from around the world, and I love answering their questions, working with them.
Gotcha.
That's got to be so cool for you as a teacher to watch them guys that don't know coming from Sikkim when they start and put together their own wholesale catalogs or catalogs. That's got to be really neat.
It's been awesome to see producers grow and see producers from, the Pacific Northwest is kind of on an island for livestock photographers. There's not just a lot of them up there. We've got producers up there who start taking their own pictures and are just doing a great job. We've got a sheep producer in New Mexico who they really amped up their pictures. We've got just all kinds of stories of people who their main job is raising livestock, but this is a way they could save money for their operation. It's a way that it was easier to make pictures fit into their schedules, right? You don't have to take 2 or 3 days and get all these pictures done at once, and everything stops because the photographer's in there. Well, tonight, some are ready, we get them done. Tomorrow, some are ready, we get them done. I think that having that ability to take photos for yourself is a stress savings and a big time money savings for
And you
for you.
don't have to do it on a day that is cloudy
Yeah,
or I mean, you can kind of do it at your own pace.
yeah, you don't get your back against the wall. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, BJ, we got I think we have a short demonstration here of what kind of your videos look like, don't we?
Yeah, so I sent a few over. This one's a demo of just watching me picture some haltered bulls. This is one of the videos from the course.
Yep. And you just kind of walk through the lighting and how to set
like
and
this is a terrible day. I mean, it's snowing, it's cloudy. The bulls are shorthorns, so they're colorful. That helps when you're in those low light situations. But after we go through the course and all the classroom parts, I wanted people to be able to see, okay, what's he actually do when this is happening live action? And so I shared this video on the course and show them how we're lining them up, how we're posing them, and you get to listen to me work with the picture pen crew, which is off camera right now, but and see exactly what happens, and then show you the finished pictures as well inside of this. So yeah, that's just a little demo video that you can kind of see of how the process works. We've got other ones where we demonstrate lighting. We've got other ones where a big portion is shot in the classroom and learning those principal things. The editing, you can see the screen, you can see exactly where my mouse clicks, you can see exactly the brush strokes that I'm making on every image. So I think that's we tried to do a good job of making sure that whatever it was that you were going to have a question about, that somewhere in this course you can actually see that thing happen.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's pretty neat. And so you hit on that, and we just got to see, you know, the little short clip of what you'll find in Learn Livestock Photography course. But it's a twofold thing for you. It's number one, let's start at the foundation of learning your tool. Let's then learn, for those of you, and I hate to say it this way, but dumb down the photography thing. Let's learn how to use our camera. For those of you that don't understand a picture pin, you didn't really skip a step. You didn't, there was no assumption on the table with BJ in this process. You assumed that you snatched an old cat out of city street of New York and you give him a course in livestock photography that when he is done, you know, he has the foundation to do with those tools what he needs to do, and for the lifetime of that has access to BJ, has access to a Facebook group that's generated with like-minded folks. My gosh, Corey, can you imagine? We could have possibly changed the industry 10 years ago had we had the access to the Learn Livestock photography course.
There is no doubt in my mind. There, yeah, things we could have changed the world, Brad.
Yeah.
And what I like about it, BJ, is the fact that, like, say for Brett and I, for example, I feel like we've got decades of a picture pin experience, but so you can cater it. You can watch the videos that you think you need to work on. Like to me, I'd like to watch the video on camera roulette and and learn more about camera settings and I know nothing about editing photos at all. So to me, those would be the, and then you might get somebody from Timbuktu that doesn't know anything about the picture pin setup and how much bedding and to me, like that dummy animal that was in that last deal, to me, just in my years of experience, there is so much credit that a good dummy animal can save you so much in terms of videoing and picturing.
For sure.
No doubt about it. There's so much you can learn about that.
Yeah, they're the dummy animal's the most undervalued employee in the picture pen. That's a fact.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially
But
those bulls that like we picture at the bull stud, that a good dummy animal is just walking back and forth. They'll react to more than the most hooping and hollering you can ever make. It seems like.
yeah, I just think there are, you mentioned several things there from your all of your time in picture pen experience. There's so many things that you have to think about as a photographer that maybe as the breeder or maybe as the help working the pen that you don't think through. And so this course gives you the photographer's perspective on everything that influences how that image turns out. Little things, where their weight is distributed in their pose, right? Whether they're leaning up into it or they're flat-footed or maybe a foot's not quite set down. But how far they are from the fence. Um, whether or not they were easy to handle, what noise you were making that got their attention, how you handle one that's light versus how you handle one that's a dummy, right? So there are so many little details, and what this course does is, I guess I got to see all of it in my travels, and so this course just shares it all with you from a photographer's perspective. All those little things that can make a difference of how your images turn out. Ultimately, that makes a difference in how much money your livestock brings.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, this has been exciting to sit here with you tonight and visit about this class that you've put together. It's almost kind of got me a little fired up, Corey, to go ahead and buy this myself, because I see the value in it. You know, and you know, and I think the value of it is what you do with it. But I think all of the little things that you put into this, I can see value as a producer in ways that I could, you know, I could to take a few pictures for myself in those situations that it's tough to get somebody to come by. But this course will close. To be able to sign up to get in this first course of 2022 is March the 3rd. You're going to extend the day to March 3rd, and finding that at learnlivestockphotography.com. And you can sign up right there. You can pay right there. It's $499 for virtually a lifetime of experience you're sharing with somebody. The connections that you have. This Facebook page, I think, is very interesting that you can go to and learn from other people. This is a heck of a good deal for a guy that's trying to increase his bottom line in a rather competitive market. So,
thank you. I appreciate that.
It's a much needed tool, that is for sure, because you can go and try to find some stuff online, but it just doesn't relate to the livestock industry and deal with what the product we're trying to make, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to pinpoint this in terms of just cattle clipping or something like that, but for me, what's really exciting about what you've done here, BJ, is you've made this situation to where you don't feel intimidated. I know when I was young and I was probably in my younger days wanted to learn to clip with the best of them, and I got to grow up around what I feel like were some of the most elite guys that clipped. When I first started, there was an intimidation factor there that I was going to mess up. And I didn't want to mess up around those guys that I'd spent so much time learning from. And your deal eliminates that, because you're not in that classroom with somebody that maybe intimidates you. It's a do it at your own pace, and know that the guy who put this together is the click of a button away, that's here for me to help me. And I think that's very unique in how you did that.
I appreciate it. I think the really cool similarity between what you were talking about with clipping and photography is that it's a craft, right? You can learn it. We all start out knowing nothing about it, and we are going to make mistakes, and bad things are going to happen to a certain extent, right? But if you commit yourself to it, and if you can find the right people to guide you, you can get really good at it. You can build your craft. You're going to have to do the work of applying yourself, right? It's not going to happen by magic. There's work involved, but you can get better. And what's been so cool is with so many students from all around the world is to be able to see that improvement in the people who apply themselves, the people who put in the work. You see it happen. It's really awesome. And really rewarding for me.
Right. Well, BJ, it's been a pleasure of mine, and I know Corey as well, to have you on the Drive Marketing, to be able to feature not only a friend of ours, long-term friend of ours, but to be able to use the Drive Marketing to talk about such an important part of our business right now, the marketing side, and how the photography business plays into that. So it's been our pleasure to be able to help you market that to the public, and thank you from both of us and Paige as well for choosing to use Drive Marketing to get it out there.
You bet. I appreciate you guys very much, and it's been fun to sit around the table with you this evening and see you all again, because it's been a hot minute since we had the opportunity to talk.
Yep, you bet. LearnLivestockphotography.com. The course will close March the 3rd. Get in where you fit in, but just don't do it on the 4th. Do it on the 3rd.
That's
So,
right. I was sick last week, so we're extending it to the 3rd of March.
absolutely. BJ, it's been our pleasure at Drive Marketing. Thank you.